player. So when Bach arrived, as the story goes, Frederick the Great gave him this theme. And as the story goes, on the spot, Bach did an improvisation in 3 voices on forte piano, which were very popular in the court of Frederick the Great at that time. And then upon arriving home, presented to Frederick the Great a selection of pieces on this theme. There was a trio sonata with 4 movements, 10 canons, and the first Ricercar that he improvised in 3 voices, and then a 6-part Ricercar.
Please, just the theme ready, and da, dee, da, 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 dee, da, 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 dee, da, 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 dee, da. Okay.
A theme is, in the case of the musical offering, it is a sparse and elegant sequence of notes that set up the possibility for later use to turn upside down, sideways, embellish and reduce in every direction possible. It is it's an essential, it's like a seed, or yes. It's something about how the sound just enwraps and keys one into another way of seeing. I did a lot of improvisation, trying to find out what is my position with a contemporary aesthetic in concert with this Baroque music. I didn't want to fight it. That's ridiculous. Why did I choose it if I fought it? And I didn't want to sing along with it. And so I pushed a certain vein that I'd been working on in movement, which is, sometimes I call it furniture, and other times I call it geometry, but they're geometric forms, and I moved forward on the problem that I faced many years, which is being irritated with the fact that the legs are involved with both transport and support, and they don't have the aesthetic mission that the arms have. They have these other 2 jobs to conduct. And so I worked at bringing the legs up to a level of freedom that the arms have. In so doing, I somewhat toned the arms down, I must say.
Reverse.
I work in 2 phases. First, I develop the vocabulary of movement.
Okay.
And the second phase is to mix that vocabulary into a choreography. So vocabulary with Bach's music was surprisingly difficult, in that everything that I did looked like old-fashioned modern dance, and I don't represent that entity, that aesthetic.
Ready, and side. Ah! It's beautiful. Jesus.
Both ends.
Oh, I'm sorry I ruined your duet, but if we tool that a touch, he will exactly fit between you.
The reason I got excited yesterday in rehearsal is because I am carrying in my mind the structure of the music. 1, the structure of the dancing. 2, and a sense of how these things might go together. And I am trying things. I call different phrases into so-and-so, you do, you know, go on this phrase or that phrase or whatever. I don't know how it will play out, because it's 2 or 3 moving entities simultaneously in the space. And I called one yesterday in which a very fast-moving, many-faceted two people were coming down through the space, and a single man, Kevin, was coming in a kind of a larger moving, lopier, rhythmic pattern. And he's coming ding-dong, like along here, while this little thing is going. And he stepped into it, and his movement turned to the right when the thing went, and he stepped to the left and went, and he passed through, like steel doors. And it's random decisions can be the worst collaborators in the world because nothing works out and it just looks like a big mess. But when it works, it's utter magic. And I think what I'm telling you is the answer to the question I'm often asked: how do you do it? How do you get it so dense, so complex, and still they all fit together and there's a logical sense to it? And that's how we do it, is do our homework on the phrases and the music and just set something free.
Camera, get your glasses on, camera. I want you to look at something over here. And then I want first to check out Kathleen in the black and Diane in the turquoise top. And then it's going to shift. It will remain with Diane, but it will shift to Stanford, who's all in beige or gray. Okay? And you'll see Stanford's move come out with you'll see his leg sync up with Di's leg, which is the leg. Camera, the leg is on the lower part of the body in this case, and it'll be coming out over here. So, can we try that? Okay, there's a theme and a counterpoint on these two men. Di and Kathleen are in unison, black and turquoise. Kathleen will penetrate this trio, making a lineup of the four, rejoins Di on this side. They continue on, they are in sync. She passes, Kathleen passes. Look at Stanford in the background there, has synced with Di. Okay. Now I think it's fairly obvious. There are two unison duets with Kevin intersecting that form. Here come the two women in unison back down. Kevin re-intersects them. He goes on in alternate material. They stop, and that's how far we are as of now. Okay, take a break.
Working with ordinary movement. Every gesture is recognizable because we all have bodies and we all move them and we all know about body language and everything has multiple references to it, everything we do. But I'm not working with that consciously. I move on in my vocabulary. I'm up to geometric forms that have a very different musical aspect to them than anything I've ever experienced before. Geometric or sculptural.
So just taking it from here, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Keep going.
The structure of it is so complex and so well shaped, shall I say, that it's interesting for us human beings communicate with words, but Trisha's medium is movement and my medium is light. So those two languages have to speak to each other. So it really is through the dance that Trisha speaks to me and not through words. Always, I think, some people are more articulate than others, and I think Trisha is extremely articulate. So it's a good way into her piece, but the movement has to speak
Good,
to me. And you know, I find even choreographers that I have worked with before, a piece will come along that doesn't speak to me. The movement doesn't speak to me. And it's always
Good.
more difficult to light it. But definitely Musical Offering speaks to me deeply.
Nice. All right. Keith and Stanford are stopped. That's sort of beautiful, Keith and Stanford stopped. Can we repeat this again? And Kathleen and Will burst out. Where am I on the score?
If I am working beat for beat, measure for measure on the music, every measure is a red light or a green light. I mean, it tells me exactly what's happening. And I'm totally affixed to it intellectually. Every time I read the score, I see more. And it just kind of builds up a kind of a history of experience with it that becomes rather internalized. And then I move out from there and making my decisions. I have my structures. I don't have a traditional vocabulary of notes. I have something that I just made new, that I don't fully understand, that has a particular projectile through the space and a particular sound to it. And I take those phrases that I've developed, not on the music, but in silence, and I run the phrases while listening to the music, and I choose the ones that create a third music, if I may say, if I'm lucky, that don't pander to Bach nor stand off in belligerence, but rather move into a more percussive realm of music.
So Di and Kathleen should be together. Di and Kathleen should be together there. And then at this moment, Kathleen and Will come around to each other. Hold it. Di, stop talking, please. Hold it here. Stay, come out, Kathleen. Okay, so now we could get into Stanford and Di, theme 1, satellite. Kathleen and Will. And we need to create a subsequent satellite for Kevin. Okay, if everybody talks and you don't hear me talking your way through this, then we're down to the fact that we have to make a satellite for Kevin, and we have a complete run of gem satellite through the 6 people. Okay? Ready? And. Something of a can of worms. Can we try it again? Company, the great lens wants to know what it is I'm up against. And it's been explained to them verbally, but not visually. I think it would be very helpful. Then they'll go away and we can solve it. And then they want to know what the problem is. So put your water down, darling, and come on over here. Just quickly, can you just whip it out? See. This is the gem, and Di's created a form out of the machine that interlocks with what he's done. It says satellite 1. Now, Kathleen has learned Di's satellite. Come quickly. And so Keith has taken Di's satellite and turned it into a theme, and Kathleen has turned it into a gem. Kathleen has made a satellite to Di's satellite. Ready? And. So Stanford's gem has a satellite, and Keith is doing the satellite, and Kathleen has created a satellite to that. Now, theoretically, we should have